Good morning, it's Jeff with Camp Base. I'm working on a Dana 60. It's on this 69 GTX. Got this is the right side axle. I've got it out, and the left side's out. The housing, back of the housing's out. I'm going to get the pinion gear later today. Haven't quite got that yet. I've cleaned the surfaces up in here, including inside. I don't believe oil is supposed to come to this far end. There's a seal here that should block the oil, and so the seal sits here, the bearing and the race rides here, and they have grease on it, so I think the seal here is meant to protect the bearing from getting the axle grease into it, although there may be some in the tube. In general, I believe, and take whatever I say with a grain of salt, that this is just supposed to have the axle grease on it, no heavyweight oil. So this has the 5 bolts, and let me show you the part that came out of here. When it came out, I just basically pulled it out. There's nothing holding it in. Once I took these 5 nuts off, there's nothing else holding it in. There was no C-clamp in the center of the axle. There's nothing, and even the race just slipped right out, which kind of surprised me that it came out so easily. There is a seal on this that goes right here. Okay, I'll show you the axle and the components. This one has been rebuilt, so it has this sort of sleeve here. This seems to be an adjustable one with these parts on it. And this one, which is on the driver's side, does not seem to have an adjustment on it. I don't know if it's the wrong one or what, but it doesn't. The parts that go in here are, this seal actually goes in this flange right here. It's right in there, in that flange. That's where that first seal goes. Then you have the race, the bearing will fit into the race. Then you have this keeper that goes on here. Now, in my case, I believe this race was rotating in the assembly, and I don't know if that's right or wrong, but it did. And then finally, on the far inside, you have a seal that goes, rides right about here, I believe, somewhere in here. That's where your internal seal to keep the gear oil from getting into the grease. That would be my assumption. All right, down on this end, there's no keeper. It just slides in to these spindle. I believe they are different lengths. Each side's a different length, if I'm not mistaken. So that's something to keep in mind. On the driver's side, the wheel studs. On the right side, they go to tighten them. You go on clockwise. On the driver's side, it's the opposite. So it's an opposite thread, which quite frankly is annoying and probably about the stupidest thing I've ever heard. So I popped those out, and we're going to put in a standard direction for all of them so it doesn't ever get broken again. I've had 5 of them broken so far, and I think everybody that encounters it tries to turn it the wrong way. Instead of trying a different direction, they just use more force. So we're going to end that, and it's just going to go to a standard thread and direction on these bolts. Okay, that's it. It's Camp Base. Hopefully I've enlightened you some on these axles and how they work. Camp Base out.